right, let's do this. My name is Richard.lesperance. I go by the name of my man Richard. Welcome to a better lifestyle. Today we're gonna talk about rising back from when you fail. So I didn't have a title for the episode, but I'll figure it out. So I have a special guest who knows really about that. So he's gonna share a little bit about a story, and he's gonna give some insights and maybe give some hope to some people who are falling and are having a hard time to get back on their feet. So
Mm.
please, Bobby, tell everybody who you are,
All right.
a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story, and we'll get started.
Sure, sure. So thank you so much, Richard, for having me on this event of yours, on this podcast. And for everybody else, my name is Bobby Dsouza. I'm the author of the book Fallen to Rise, which is actually my story, my journey of once being a construction manual laborer on the roads of Mumbai to somebody who's inspired 190 corporate organizations across the world. All right, working with more than 33,000 people face to face. My journey basically started off wherein I was in a state of being helpless, completely confused, not sure where my life was, going on. At the age of 16, that's how my life was. I come from a broken family, and my goal is not to show myself as a victim here, but to tell anybody and everybody who's listening to me that there is hope. That when you're confused, when you're lost, when you feel that you're at the crossroad of your life and you do not know what's going on, hold on. Because that's where I was able to rise beyond. In fact, every time I, deliver a keynote speech to any organization and to audiences live, whether they are in person or virtual, there is one thing that I always share. At the age of 16, when I was trying to do manual labor work, and around the age of 17, when I was a salesman, door to door, house to house, doing cold calling and was ridiculed, picked up like an animal and thrown outside on the road. I remember on the streets of Mumbai, I'm from India, the beautiful country of India, and there was rain falling from heaven. There's one vehicle passing from here, one vehicle passing from there, in the crowded city of Mumbai, the city that never sleeps. I was standing on the road without even a penny, without even a dollar. And I'm standing on the road asking myself, where do I go from here? And somehow I found this inner faith within myself, which told me, not exactly in the same words, but it actually told me that your biography, your past will never determine the autobiography that you're writing for your life. And that very moment, I decided that my current reality is never permanent. The situation that I'm going through right now is never permanent. I made a choice to say that I'm going to let go of what happened in the past and I'm going to move forward. And the good news is I was able to progress. I was able to learn. I really had a deep hunger to consistently upgrade myself, reinvent myself. And thankfully, I have come to a place in my life wherein, I'm no longer at the crossroad of my life. I clearly know what I want to do. And the greatest thing that I'm doing today is inspiring thousands of people, telling them, just like my book says, Fallen to Rise, that if I can fall and if I can rise, each one of you who are listening or watching, all of us can rise and go to bigger, better, higher, whatever that is for you. So that's a little bit about me, Richard.
So what was your mental state at in these times? Like, was it were you positive, negative, fearful? What was going through your mind?
Correct. I think from an emotional state point of view, the biggest thing that I observed was what I can recollect, when I was a very young boy. Uh, I felt a sense of no control. Like Tony Robbins says, basically, I felt a sense of uncertainty. I was not really sure where I was going. I was emotionally, burnt out. I was completely confused, full of doubts. And one thing that I really, really lacked, I lacked self-confidence. But thankfully, it was the grace that I was able to rise beyond, and I was able to see, the light at the other side of the tunnel in the darkness.
So how do you control your emotions in those times? Because sometimes when you're in a dark place, you can make
Mm,
bad
correct.
decisions because of your emotions. So how do you
True.
control your emotions in those times?
When I was quite this very moment, I am definitely, enlightened. And there are a lot of techniques and strategies and tools that I have learned over the years. But when I was very, very young, and I did not even know what is emotional intelligence or how do I manage my emotions. In fact, the word emotion was only used in connection to romance that you see in a Bollywood movie, at least from my understanding. So my thought was emotionally, I was down. I was hopeless. However, the only thing that kept me going on in those moments of time that helped me to come back and rise from the fall was basically a very compelling reason that told me, and as we call it, my why, WHY. I clearly knew that my family needed me, that the son was needed to take care of the family. People were dependent on me. And knowing that at the age of 16, my family depended on me, I knew I had to rise up and do it. So I think it was the bigger reason, the bigger why, which was beyond my helplessness, beyond me feeling a victim. I knew that there were people who needed to be taken care of. And that basically helped me to pull through. And that's my answer. And if you ask me today, of course, I have a lot of strategies I can suggest. But at the age of 16, I think it was the reason, the bigger reason that I loved my family. That's
Can
the
you
reason.
can you talk about the strategies a little bit?
Yes, definitely. Uh, Now, when people are handling their emotions at the current moment, in case somebody who's listening today and is going through a moment when the person is feeling consistently down and out, is feeling hopeless, or is just feeling low, let's say everything is going well, but people are feeling low, and all of us feel that, right, Richard? Sometimes all of us feel a sense of low, sometimes without any reasons as well. One of the ways that somebody can actually handle their emotions is by a powerful, lesson that I learned. Stress and disappointment is not created by the situation. Stress is not created by the situation, but by the meaning that we give to the situation. And that is a quote by Tony Robbins, who I have learned so much from. Is sometimes what happens is when we're going through a time in our life when we feel that everything is just not working, sometimes to the situation that we're facing, what we're doing is we're just giving it a very disempowering, very negative meaning. For an example, let's say somebody works for sales and is expected to meet a financial target every month. And due to some reason, one of the deals that he's working on and is really working very hard to close a deal, and that deal does not come through. Now, the easiest thing somebody could feel is emotionally that person could feel completely down and out and say, I'm a loser. This is not working for me. My hard work is wasted. Stress is not created by the situation, but by the meaning that we give to the situation. But the question is, if the person would focus on realizing that, can I convert or change the meaning of the situation to something which is positive? For example, I tried this customer. This customer did not answer my call. Possibly the customer is busy. Possibly the customer needs 2, 3 more days to make a decision. Possibly I have learned a key lesson that I need to improve on so that my next time my sales could be better. When you change the meaning of the situation that you're facing, your emotional focus changes and you start feeling more positive, more affirmative. And as a result of that, you're able to move forward. So, out of the many strategies that I have, I think the quickest one is to change the meaning that you face in a situation and emotion changes. That's one.
How do you avoid making bad avoid bad decisions when you're in chaos? Like how do you
Hmm.
avoid well not how do you avoid what's how can I say that? How can I frame that? What should
How?
people
Yeah.
no yeah that's the question. What should people not do
Hmm.
when chaos is around?
Correct. So, what wonderful question, Richard. Your question is, what should people not do
Yeah,
when they are in a chaotic situation?
exactly.
Richard, honestly, I am guilty of that too so many times. That when we are in chaos, when we are in pressure, when our buttons are pressed, the easiest thing for us is to give in, and the easiest thing is to react. And a lot of time we make very costly, very, very bad decisions. You know, a very simple example. Let's say you have a couple, a husband and wife, or your partner who you're with. And let's say there is a conflict that happened, and there's a pressure that happened, and something just happened. Let's say there's a financial turmoil that happened, and there's a letter that has come back, and you're pending in certain payments. Now that's a chaotic situation, right? That's a pressure situation. Now just imagine this: the partner, both of them, they come together, they're confused, they are worried, they're pressured. Now the easiest thing that they can do is, which most people would do, is when they get triggered, they will trigger the other person, because that's how they get certainty, right? They said, I do not know how to handle the situation. Can I use this to blame my partner? So the partner will say, it is you who are responsible. You should have done this. You should have done this. And this could escalate to conflict. And imagine what happens to the emotion. Both of them are pressured. Both of them make a bad decision. And sometimes it could even turn violent. And sometimes the relationship could even break. The only challenge is the conflict that happened between the partner, whether it's business partner, whether it is family members. The reality is the solution did not come through that, right? So the solution that I have learned the hard way, from the mistakes that I made, and I've learned it from so many mentors, is that we use the power of pause. We use the power of pause. And, Richard, I'm going to bring a very interesting example. I'm actually a musician, by the way. And I play something called as electronic drums, the African drums and electronic drums. And when I deliver keynote speeches for a lot of different organizations, what I do is I play the music for the people. I play the drums for the people. And when I'm playing the drums, I ask people to sync with me. In other words, they need to sync with the rhythm. And what I've observed is when people try, they make a mistake. And what interesting thing, what people do is when I start increasing the rhythm and the pace of the drums, people just start making mistakes again and again, and they're confidently making more mistakes. And we laugh about it. But one of the key lessons that I bring from that, and in fact is a answer to your question, is I tell them, just like in music, you got to use the power of pause, where you go to observe what has happened, you go to space out from that situation and listen what is happening. And then when you're ready, you join back at the right beat. And that's exactly what I want to say. When people are going through a time when they are pressured in chaotic time, the most important thing is to pause. Don't create more damage to the chaos already. Pause, observe, analyze, and then make a decision. In fact, scientifically, there is a word called metacognition. The word metacognition basically means spacing out from your current situation. And then when you're in an emotional state where you're calm, where you can be more logical, that is the moment you make a decision. Sometimes I have observed that when people are feeling very chaotic, when the emotions are very high, it is better to just sleep over it. Literally, in case if you can just go to sleep, or you can just take a break from thinking that, that's a solution. You just space out from that situation, and then you're able to rise beyond it, and you're able to make better decision. And the best part is you're not triggering someone else. That's my answer.
Uh, Hope and faith plays a good part in chaotic moment. What do you have to say about that?
Wonderful, Richard. That's a powerful. That's very, very close to my heart, actually. Hope and faith, such an important thing. In fact, the Bible has a quote which says, "Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see." Right? Doesn't matter what religion anybody follows. There is this one truth that faith is not something that you can actually touch. Right? It is not tangible. But the reality is that faith and that hope basically, helps you to see beyond your current reality and to trust that it is all going to work out. Interestingly, Richard, Bob Proctor, one of the finest speakers in the world, and I've learned so much from him. He gave an example, and he mentioned that faith and fear both uses the same thing. Faith and fear both use the same thing, which is not tangible, which is called imagination. In imagination, when you're imagining something of something that has not happened to you yet, and you're imagining it as worse than it is. And you start feeling really horrible about it. You start feeling very bad about it because you imagined it and it is creating fear in you. The reality is it's not happened, right? It's just an imagination. Similarly, for faith, things have not happened yet, but you're believing with all your heart that even from this, I will be able to rise beyond it. Even beyond this, there's something bigger, something better, something higher that is waiting for me. Current reality, I do not see any good sign. But what I do know for sure that I can make the choice. I can naturally imagine negative things before they have actually happened. I can intentionally imagine positive things that can happen in my life and start taking affirmative, positive actions. One of the things I want to say also, Richard, is when somebody says that I have faith and I want to believe in times of difficulties, what my suggestion is, and I've applied this in my own life as well, is that faith and hope is not enough. Your faith needs to show up in actions. So when you're going through chaos, when you're going through really messed up time, do not stop the good work that you're doing. What a lot of people unfortunately do is when they put in a lot of good work, let's say they start a business and they put a lot of good work and results are not showing up and the seeds are in the ground. What they do is when they lose their patience and they lose their hope and faith, they even dig out the seeds that they, planted with so much of hard work. My suggestion is use the power of faith and hope to pause, to think, and to take at least one good action today. And tomorrow will show something good, something bigger, better, higher.
Talk to us a little bit about the book.
Wonderful. So, Richard, my book is called Fallen to Rise, and I will definitely share the link. It is available on Amazon and Flipkart and many other sites, Barnes and Nobles as well. The book Fallen to Rise is actually a non-fiction book. It is actually my true journey. Like, I just gave you a little glimpse of my story, but the entire story has been narrated. It is like a novel. It's a storybook. A lot of people, when they read the book, they feel as if they're watching a movie. There is a moment when people are laughing. There is a moment where people are in tears. There is a moment where they feel the pain. And in a moment, they feel like they're being inspired. Every chapter, underneath each chapter, there is a reflection where people not only listen to the story, they read the story, but then they can also reflect on some of the key lessons that I have written over there. So not only have I shared my story, but there are reflections that people can pause, they can observe, and they can learn. It is a story of resilience. It is a story of determination. And if anybody wants to rise beyond their current reality, it will help them to build courage. It will help them to dare to rise beyond. That's the book.
So what would be the last words in regards to everything we talked about?
So firstly, Richard, I really appreciate the valuable time that you gave me, and I'm
No problem.
I'm hoping that it would add a lot of value to whoever is listening, whenever they're listening. My last words would be this, which actually is from the book Fallen to Rise. That regardless of what you're going through right now, this is what you need to know. Something bigger, something better, something higher is waiting just for you, my friend. You need to know that you may not see it currently, but like Richard correctly said, you need your faith, you need your hope to keep going on one day at a time. When you're trying to build masterpiece life, you got to hustle. It will take time. But the good part is what you become because of the hustle, what you become as a result of the efforts that you put. Your pain will be left behind, but what will emerge is a courageous, daring man or woman. That's my message.
Where can people find you on social media or the internet?
So, Richard, people can easily find me anywhere actually, because I'm really, really a lot on social media. Whether you search me and listen to me on Spotify, whether you search me on LinkedIn, whether you can find me on Amazon. The book is on Amazon, and I'll share the link as well. I'm also on Quora. I have answered around 1,500 questions there. So if you have questions, you can ask me there. And in case anybody wants to reach out to me personally for a keynote speech, or you want to be coached by me, then I'm easily available. Just search for www.bobbydsouza.com, and I'm happy to add value to you one person at a time.
What are some stuff that you're working right now at the moment?
So currently, I have just built up my online course, which is up on Udemy, which is called as Unshakable Confidence. also called as confidence booster to win big. That's up on Udemy. It's just been launched last month, and hopefully, I'm also a musician, so I consistently, put in some sort of recordings, some unplugged songs and music and stuff that is on. And of course, my podcast and blogs are on Medium and many other places.
Okay. I didn't know you had a podcast. What's the name of the podcast?
It is the Bobby Dsouza Show.
Okay, and what does it talk about? What do you talk about?
It basically talks about building your mindset. Okay, building a very courageous, daring mindset, building determination, building resilience, and enduring motivation.
Uh, Thanks, Bobby. We finally connect. So it was kind of hectic week for us to connect. So we did it. So I really wanted to do this episode so someone can be inspired by your story. I had listened to one of your podcasts with this lady. I forgot her name, but it was very good. On that note, thank you everybody for taking the time to listen to the podcast. Welcome to a better lifestyle. My name is Richard.lesperance, and I go by the name of my man Richard. And I was with Bobby Dsouza, right?
That's right.
Okay, I didn't want to mess up your name. So
Yes.
thank you guys. Thank you, Bobby, for being here. And we'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Bye.
Thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure.